Today I decided to give you guys a ranking of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles films. This is a series of films that began in 1990, shortly after the comic book of the same name premiered, as well as the original TV show. The series has been ongoing to this day, with several different reboots, animated versions, live action adaptations, and just a lot of variety all around. There are 8 movies in this ranking, so without further ado, I decided to give us my ranking from worst to best. Starting with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, also known as Ninja Turtles 3 Turtles in Time, although that's not really the name of the movie, they just kind of added that to the Blu-ray boxes. This film sees our turtles traveling back in time to feudal Japan. It is kind of a bad movie, honestly. There are some things I do like about it, like we do see the return of Casey Jones, who was sadly absent from Ninja Turtles 2. Paige Turco returns again as April O'Neil, and she does an okay job, although I still do prefer Judith Hogue. But the story this time is just completely nonsensical. None of the characters from the comic book or the TV show make an appearance here. Instead, you get a boring cowboy type villain, and you also get a really boring samurai villain. It's just not a good film. Honestly, I'd say just watch the AVGN review of this movie, and you'll pretty much get everything you need to know about it. A bad film with bad effects and a lackluster story, and not one that I really recommend to anyone. It's just dull. Up next, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. The sequel to the 2014 reboot, this one did some things that I did enjoy. It fully embraced the 80s cartoon by throwing in Bebop, Rocksteady, Krang, and even Shredder, and it is very over the top, especially for a live-action movie. However, the first film, while I did have my problems with it, was kind of serious, at least as much as it could be, being a CGI fest kind of film, and this one is just kind of overly silly. Shredder here is not very memorable. Krang is just a goofball, much like he was in a cartoon, I suppose, and Bebop Rocksteady just don't leave much of an impact. It has some good stuff in it, like I do like some of the action here and there, but it feels very overly CGI heavy. I don't really care for the CGI turtles this time. They still look bad like in the first film, but now they're slightly different, but I don't know. Just a forgettable movie that I don't really recommend. Up next, we have 2014's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. A slight improvement over its successor. I do actually kind of enjoy this film. It is something of a remake of the 1990 film, even having a similar plot and even some scenes that are directly taken from that film. Having said that, though, it's just kind of super CGI heavy. I don't know why they went with CGI turtles instead of just live action ones. The guys in the suits always looked better. And you're doing a live action movie, but there's more animation here than you see in a lot of actual CGI films. It's okay for what it is. I do enjoy the action. I think Megan Fox is actually a decent actress. She does an okay job as April O'Neil, but definitely leaves something to be desired. It's an okay little remake / reboot of the franchise, but nothing more. Up next, we have Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is an okay little animated film that basically just shows the Turtles teaming up with Batman to fight mutated versions of his villains, and Shredder's there as well, and it's just your standard straight-to-video kind of superhero crossover movie. If this was in theaters and maybe had a little bit more time in the writer's room, I think it could have been something kind of special. But as it stands, it's just a somewhat forgettable straight-to-video kind of flick. You know, these are kind of a dime a dozen. They make tons of straight-to-video Batman movies every year, and this one kind of just blends together with the rest of them. It is a cool concept, but unfortunately there's nothing really here that is done that's that great. And it's just standard. I wish I could say more about it, but it's fairly forgettable, but not the worst of the Turtles films. Up next, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. This was the most recent film in the Turtles franchise, and this one's okay. The thing I have to say about this one is that I'm just clearly not the target audience. I grew up with the Ninja Turtles when they were still relatively newer, and now, new generations are going to get their own version of it, and I just feel this one's just a little too modern, I guess, and kind of overly goofy and hokey, and I just don't really love it. There's a lot of modern-day references to things like TikTok and the Avengers, and several modern-day actor references as well. It's just kind of, I don't know, Zoomer-ish. That's the best way I could probably describe it. It's just not my kind of movie, but I do think there is some good about it. I do like how the family dynamic here is interesting. I think that the Turtles have a really good bond. I think the kids voicing the Turtles do a decent job, but I feel like they're a little too immature. This is almost like the preteen Mutant Ninja Turtles as opposed to actual teenagers. The animation is also very ugly. It's a similar style to the more recent Miles Morales animated Spider-Man films, where they kind of slow the frame rate down and have like a mixture of 2D and 3D assets. But I just don't think it works here. All the humans look really ugly. The mutants look even uglier. The turtles look okay. And it just has a really messy, janky kind of look that I don't really like. On top of that, April O'Neil is far from comic and cartoon accurate, but she's okay, but I don't really care for her being like a high schooler. I prefer her to be like a news reporter, and she's on her way to become that. I get what they're going for, but she's always supposed to be slightly older than the Turtles, and I don't really think it works her being their age. There is kind of like a hint of a romance kind of thing between her and Leonardo, but even that just feels kind of tacked on. I think that Ice Cube makes an interesting villain as Superfly. I actually rather enjoyed him. And even things in the movie like them eventually going to high school and having no secret identity just kind of breaks the motif of the Turtles. They're supposed to be stealthy and attack from the shadows, and here, by the end of the film, spoiler alert, they're just pretty much accepted by the community, and I don't know, it just doesn't really work for me. Some fun scenes here and there, and Jackie Chan does a decent job as Splinter, but ultimately just an overly goofy and, I guess, too modern, in my opinion, take on the Turtles, who I feel fit much better in like a 90s kind of setting. It's not for me, but it is what it is, and I think it's okay. Up next is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. Now, while the new film is definitely overly goofy, and I think this one is as well, this one still has a lot of that 90s charm. I love the look of New York in this one. It's actually filmed on location in a lot of spots. I do enjoy the character of Keno, who's a pizza delivery kid who knows martial arts who ends up helping the Turtles out. Funnily enough, the actor who plays Keno also played Donatello in some of the movies. The in-suit acting, not the voice acting, that is. This one definitely was watered down thanks to parents complaining about the first film. The ninjas next to never use their weapons, and if they do, they pretty much never make contact. I think the only person who actually hits anyone with their weapon is Donatello, but his is basically just a stick. You see them use things like sausages for weapons and yo-yos, and you might see them occasionally kick somebody, but you can nearly tell that they water this one down to appease the parents who are upset about the first film, and it does hurt the overall product. I still do enjoy the film for what it is, though, and I think it very much does capture the 90s feel of the Turtles. Shredder's still cool this time around. I do like Toka and Razar, and even though they're just a substitute for Bebop and Rocksteady, I think they're a pretty good substitute overall. The love and care of the first film is definitely not on display here, but it is still a pretty good sequel and one that I very much do enjoy. And even though Paige Turco is not as good as April O'Neil as Judith Hogue, I think she still does a good job, and this is still an enjoyable film. Next, we have 2007's TMNT. This was an animated continuation of the original Ninja Turtles films. A lot of people don't know this, but this is actually the fourth film in the franchise, meaning it actually does acknowledge the events of the first three Ninja Turtles movies, only this one's animated. The story this time around does basically show ancient warlords who have more or less been cursed and turned to monsters, and the Turtles have to help stop these monsters from destroying the city, all while the threat of the Foot looms in the background. There's also really cool aspects to this one, such as Raphael becoming a vigilante, and Leonardo leaving for a couple of years to go train and fight villains in South America. It's a very interesting plot this time around. I do think it does a little over the top with the monsters, but I think that it's still a pretty good continuation of the series. It's not overly goofy like 2 and 3, and it does bring back that serious tone of the first film, and it's very much welcome. This one unfortunately flew under a lot of people's radar, and it did okay at the box office. It wasn't like a smash hit, and unfortunately we never got a sequel, although one was planned. It is a shame because this is the last thing Turtles related I think that was actually great. I think the 2012 series is also pretty good, but as far as movies go, this is the last one that I think was spectacular. A very good film that doesn't get the credit that it deserves or the attention that it deserves. And if you haven't seen this one, I highly recommend it. Very good, very entertaining, and a great conclusion to the original Turtles series of films. But you just can't beat number one. 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What's great about this film is, even though it does take a few things from the cartoon, such as the Turtles having multiple colored bandanas, this was more or less based strictly on the comic books, and it really does show. Although there are a few moments where there is some wacky sound effects and stuff like that, it is still a very serious, and to this date, the most serious Ninja Turtles film. The action is hard-hitting, the tone is gritty, all the turtles look great. Using men in suits with animatronic heads is still the best looking turtles we've ever had on the big screen, and I really wish they would do this again, especially with the improvements in technologies. The turtles don't need to be CGI. They can be cartoons, but I think that works better for the small screen. And when it comes to films, I wish they were all live action with animatronic turtles. But unfortunately, it ended after the 90s, but it just goes to show how great it was. The story is basically these four turtles have to stop the Foot Clan, who is on the rise in New York City. Along the way, they meet a reporter named April O'Neil, and they run into a vigilante named Casey Jones. A romance forms between Casey and April, and while the Foot attempts to take over the city, it's up to our turtles to stop them. It's a basic premise and one that I very much love. I think the turtles come into two categories: the crazy over-the-top mutant stuff, such as Bebop Rocksteady, Utrons and alien invasions, and then the more grounded stuff, such as the Turtles versus the Foot Clan. I actually prefer the latter, and this film encapsulates that perfectly. If you want an intense and grounded version of the Turtles, this is it. This is probably my favorite piece of Ninja Turtles media out there, and I still love this film to this day. If you have kids and they haven't seen it, I highly recommend you show it to them. And if you've never seen it yourself, I think you should watch it as well. It's a film that anyone can enjoy of all ages, and it's just perfect. I think there's never going to be a better Turtles film, at least I highly doubt it. But I do hope one day they'll try to do a film in the style of this one again. And if they do, I'm very much looking forward to it. From the amazing animatronics on Splinter as well as the Turtles themselves, to the great performance by Shredder, to the awesome Casey Jones, there's just nothing not to love about this film. The gritty look of New York has never been captured so well in this series, and I really hope one day we can see something of a continuation in this version of the franchise. Well, that's my list. Sorry this one took so long to get out, but I've just been busy lately. If you'd like, leave your list down below, or just tell me your favorite movie in this franchise, or just your favorite Ninja Turtle. Thanks for watching, and peace out.